Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today, we're not going to necessarily talk about a breakup. We're actually going to talk about communication. Um, and this is something that I've read about before in the seven, what is it? Stephen Covey's the author, the seven highly effective ways, the seven habits of highly effective people. And you can look this up. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. And actually, I was in a coaching session with someone recently, and they were very combative. It was a fun chat. It was a back and forth, but when I say combative, it was playful. It wasn't negative or angry or anything like that. But everything I said was not just question, but it was like a comeback. Well, yeah. What about this? Well, yeah. What about this? And I was like, I got to a point, and I can banter with the best of them, and I usually adapt to the individual that I'm talking to and where they're at, and the style that they like to communicate in. But I stopped for a minute. I said, "Hey, look, seek first to understand, then to be understood." And she was kind of like, it stopped her for a moment, and she was almost like, "Yeah, sometimes I talk a lot, and sometimes I don't listen fully." But she had to think about it for a moment, because I'm an individual. I've always processed quick. What does that mean? Like, someone says something and I can react very quickly. And so it's not always the best thing. It's good in certain circumstances. It's good in conversation. It's good when you meet new people, as for me. But also when you're having a deeper conversation, you're getting to the bottom of feelings, you can be reactive when really you need to digest what's being said and understand the meaning a little fully before you react. And so there's a place and a time for you to turn off the, well, I'm quick witted, or I'm processing so fast. And I've really worked on that, especially being a breakup coach and being a teacher for nearly 10 years now. And before that, I was in sales at different levels. And even then, you have to seek first to understand, then be understood. And this is a process that you get better and better at. And it's not just reading people, it's listening, which is a dying art, which is a dying, one of the five senses, really, right? We talk about being able to hear, but deeper than that, it's about listening, right? And so many people are on their phone nowadays, and so many people are distracted about outside things, that there's really a lot of people that aren't very good listeners, right? And so that affects them understanding where we're coming from and actually really thinking, okay, how did this person come to this conclusion? Because a lot of times you just think, I agree, I disagree. This person's stupid. This person's wrong. This person's dead wrong. And so I think I have a really interesting example to actually share. And it's pertinent now because I think this series was just released on Netflix, and it's about the Unabomber, right? And this is not some kind of case that I followed really closely. Okay. It's one of those things. I just started watching the series. I remember it being in the news in the late 90s. I'm from the Bay Area, so they said that, that a lot of the packages were being mailed around there and whatnot, but I wasn't following it. So when this came up on Netflix, I was like, yeah, let's check this out. So check it out, start watching it. Okay. It's pretty good. It's one of those, what do you want to call it? Crime thrillers based on a true story, which I always like. And you're watching these people where they're sending the packages, and people are getting blown up, right? It's gross. It's disgusting. It's sad. And you're thinking, why would someone ever want to do this, right? You're watching the show and you're flashing back, and it's like, why would someone do this? Why would someone send packages to hurt people like that, right? I think it's, and I could be wrong on this, episode 4 or 5, because it's a series of 10 or 12 shows. I'm not sure of the exact number. But by episode 5, he's about to get caught. What they do in this particular show is that they they run it like a soap opera where they leave all these open loops, and they start from the beginning and then they go to a different period, and so it's a little bit confusing at first to watch, but they're playing out different parts of the stories in different time zones, time zone areas of the events. And so this last episode, so where I'm going with this, in the beginning, you're just like, Unabomber, horrible person, killing innocent people. Who the hell does this? But when you watch the upcoming episode where he talks, he's writing a letter, I believe, to his brother, and he starts telling his life experience of when he's young. It all of a sudden, I'm not validating what he did. It's inexcusable. But all of a sudden, I understand. I'm like, wow. So he had this story when he was a little kid, a friend of his that was his best friend, and he had a lot of trouble making friends because he was like a borderline genius. He had skipped not one grade, but 2 grades. So he was younger in the class and he was a little genius in class. So that would breed some problems. And people that process and are really articulate and smart and good at math, sometimes they're not the most popular kids in class, let alone skipping 2 grades. So he skips 2 grades, meets a really good friend. That friend ends up betraying him, throwing rocks at his head. It's a long story. I'm not going to get into it, but it was a bad little friendship. So that alone isn't going to produce him being the Unabomber, but it was a start of him being, a really bad childhood incident that was highly traumatic for him. And they show that in this series. Then they go on, he gets into Harvard at 16 years old, right? You ready for this? So he goes, at 16 years old, I entered Harvard, which was already, I had no friends there, nothing, no one to welcome me. And he befriends a professor there that after school is, playing chess with him and really spending a lot of time with him. And eventually this particular professor coaxes him into a top secret project, which is CIA something. And they strap him into a chair that almost looks like the electric chair. And of course, this is his professor. He's 16 years old, so he's just going to listen to him. And they basically proceed to break him down mentally. So they chastise him, they make fun of him, they twist his beliefs, they play on his insecurities. It's mental torture. You're watching it, I'm like, who would ever do this? This professor was doing it as an experiment or a study for how the CIA could break down or break someone from the Soviet Union or from one of these other places. And so this kid is this innocent, basically test bunny or the way they test mice. And he's getting broken down. He's getting broken down over and over again. So he goes the first time, the guy ends up making him cry. You guys can see this for yourselves. What's up, Mike? So in that in that part of the series, this guy that ended up being the Unabomber at 16 years old, for over a year and a half, I believe it was 18 months, week by week, this professor was taking him to a room and breaking him down mentally as an experiment, right? When I watched that, I'm like, holy shit. Now I understand why this dude did what he did. I don't excuse it. I'm not saying it was right. It was wrong. It was dead wrong, right? 100% wrong. But all of a sudden, I was like, this guy at 16 years old was getting mentally tortured. You know what I'm saying? And this happens a lot, right? Someone that's not a part of you ever see the series Dexter, which wasn't a true story. Dexter wasn't a true story, but they talk about why he was who he was because of an incident in his childhood. But Unabomber's a real dude. And when you hear that, I felt compassion for the guy for a moment, because at that moment I understood this dude just wasn't born this way. He wasn't born this way, right? What did he do in the end? I haven't watched the end of the series. I'm like in the middle of the series, but he from that experience, what I'm saying is from that experience that wasn't just 1 week, because the guy had him back every week. I think he said for a year or a year and a half. And on top of it, at 16 years old, it was his professor. Yes. Yes, it is. It is based on a true story. This was a real guy. Whether the things he's articulating are 100% true, I don't know. But the letter he wrote, and where I'm going with this is it's just amazing because on the shell or on the surface, right? You're like, this guy's nuts. You know, he's sending bombs in the mail, and he got away with it for 17 or 16 years without getting caught because he's very sharp and he's very smart. And I'm saying his actions weren't excusable. He's killing innocent people. It's a horrible thing. But to understand, wait a minute, this guy was mentally tortured for most of his college years. This had an effect on who he was and what he became. And it just was eye-opening to me. I went from going, you know, this guy's ludicrous, this guy's crazy, to being like, I kind of feel sorry for him. I kind of feel sorry for that guy that was 16 years old and no one came to his rescue, and no one put the professor that was, it was not just him, it was a multiple group of guys that were being tested this way. Right. And so it's just a really good example of from the shell or the outer, you just kind of assume, oh, this person's just wrong. They're just an idiot. Well, what was their childhood like? What was their past experience like? It doesn't necessarily get them off the hook, right? This guy still deserved to go to jail and get in trouble. Absolutely. But you kind of go, wait a minute, you know what? What happened to him at 16 years old was not fair either. It was a horrible, horrible thing. And this thing didn't just happen by accident. And there's a reason why, you know, probably when they had, you know, Native Americans, I read a few books on Native American culture and different things and the way they practiced it. They didn't really have these problems because people weren't torturing people psychologically in a chair, strapping their head against the thing. It's just like some of these things that are coming up now, it's part of modern society. So I wrote some things out. Everyone that's in the live stream right now, I will get back to your comments. Mike, it's good to see you as always, but it's been a while. So I mentioned that the Unabomber, which is relative now. And if you guys, anyone watching this later on in the comments is watching this series and saw this episode, tell me if it was kind of eye-opening for yourself too, where you went from really not liking the guy, maybe even hating the guy and thinking he's an atrocious human being, to kind of feeling a bit of compassion when you saw that episode and suddenly understood where he was maybe developed his psyche, right? So recently, another example I have is I just did a live coaching with an individual that he's in his early 20s, really cool dude actually. And he was with his girlfriend for a year. He said it was really good. They had a mutual group of friends that they went out with quite often, and you know, to go out for drinks and whatnot. So Mike, you probably won't be surprised by this because Mike's seasoned. He knows how the game works. And he basically, you know, his girlfriend breaks up with him, came out of nowhere, hit him like a Mack truck. And he was shocked, right? Because he said everything was good, fine and dandy. And then she's like, I want to break up. Things aren't good. And she pivoted out of the relationship within 2 weeks or a month with one of his good friends that they were in the same circle of friends. So it wasn't like she just broke up with him. She went with a guy that he considered a friend or in that friends group. And so he was pissed. He was hurt, right? He was really, really hurt by this. And he said he had a lot of trouble because it was his friend, right? It wasn't just you know, a random person. This was his buddy. And so he lost his girlfriend, and he said that hurt, but the part that hurt him is his friend pivots out. She pivots out of the relationship, immediately gets in the relationship with that guy. But one thing he had trouble with, they had a circle of friends. He didn't say how many, maybe 5, 6, 7, or 8, that they all went out together and hung out. And he blamed those friends for not stepping in and doing anything. And so he cut off all those friends. So not only did he lose his girlfriend, he lost his friends for a little while, and he was bitter and he was blaming them. And so when he sent his story to me, I said, hey, look, first of all, if you got a circle of friends and you guys are all going out for drinks and you're in your early 20s, men are going to be men. And so it's not wrong, it's not right. And I'll tell you why you're having a lot of trouble with it. I said, because as a guy, your morals and values are, I wouldn't take my friend's girlfriend regardless. There's just some people, they wouldn't cross that line. I'm one of those individuals. I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't even, if I have a good friend, like a good friend, and they break up and it comes across my nose that, you know, she likes me or something like that, I wouldn't even touch it because it's just my morals and my values. I don't want to go there. I don't want to lose a friendship. There's too many fish in the sea. And so he's like, exactly, that's me. I go, but here's the thing. Not everyone's like you. Not everyone has your morals and values. So this guy doing that, he just told you who he was and how he is. And they're in their early 20s. You were together for a year, and they were in each other's sphere of influence. They saw each other regularly at a bar. And let's be honest, folks, you should not, if you have a girlfriend, I'm not into jealousy. I'm not into being controlling. I'm not that kind of person. But putting your girlfriend in a situation where you have multiple friends and you got single guys that you're meeting up with, and you guys are having drinks, they're gonna exchange stares and eye contact. There's gonna be a little flirting going on because that's just what dudes do if your girlfriend's a catch. I've dealt with it before. I'm a very confident individual when I have a girlfriend as far as letting certain things go and whatnot. But if you continuously put yourself in a situation, it's like if you got a girlfriend, it's not the best thing to do to go to the bars on the weekends because most guys, you know, are wolves in sheep's clothing, right? Some of them are just wolves. They're going there to meet other women if they're single. And so they're not thinking after a few drinks like, oh, this is John's girlfriend, I better back off. No, it's like, oh, she gave me a little bit of a look, and they're going to pursue that. So you got to be a little bit accountable of where you were hanging out regularly. Secondly, your friend told you who he was, so you got to let him go. And thirdly, the friends that were the ones that didn't do anything that you felt betrayed you also, actually, at the end of the day, they just want to be fucking neutral because in their head, they're like, damn, I saw that shit coming, but there's nothing really I can do about it. Because at the end of the day, your girlfriend or if your boyfriend, their allegiance and their choices, if they're in a committed relationship, they're the ones that are accountable, not your outside friends, not your, how should I say this? Other acquaintances. The girlfriend or the boyfriend is the one that needs to answer to that. And if they do something and they end up doing that, then that's your clarity that that's not a very good relationship. That's not a person you're going to be with long-term. And so after I told him this, he's like, you know what? I did contact two of the friends, and you're right. I was blaming them. And when I contacted him, he's like, they said, look, bro, I saw it coming. I just wanted to stay neutral. I didn't have anything I could do for you. It's like, they're not going to be your knight in shining armor and stop the fact that she's leaving you for one of your friends. At the same time, if they're mutual friends, they don't want to get in the middle of the shit. They want to be neutral. They want to hang out with you on your own. And he's like, both the guys that he called up, he's like, thanks for doing that, because I would have lost them as friends. I was really carrying some shit. He's still upset a bit, but he just wasn't understanding her point of view or his friend's point of view. And when I redirected, you're funny, Mike. When I redirected that, he was like, oh shit, I got some clarity on that. I was holding way too much of them accountable. And at the end of the day, it was a year relationship in your early 20s. That ain't going to be your last relationship, right? So everyone, and I'm seeing this a lot. Anyone, you know, when I say early 20s, you're pre-25, right? You're pre-25. Any relationship you're going to be in pre-25, most likely, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone listening right now, throw it in the comment. Pre-25, are you going to end up with that person for the rest of your life? Most likely not. And I'll tell you one of the major reasons. Someone always is thinking, damn, I'm only 23. I'm only 24. There's got to be some more taste testing I got to do. There's got to be a possibility of an upgrade out there. I'm in the peak of my life physically, not mentally, but physically. I'm getting a lot of attention. Do I just want to try that over there? It just happens. People tend to get more committed, I would say, in their 30s now. Now, back in the day, grandma and grandpa from our generation, my grandparents, who, you know, my grandpa was born in the 1920s or something like that. The first woman they met, fuck yeah, they can go 40 years. They can go 50 years with them because they got religion, they got less distractions. Now, you better. I'm not telling you to be worried about it, but I'm telling you, don't be fucking surprised when someone just breaks up out of the blue and hooks up with someone else, because with social media and all these distractions, people just aren't going to stay together as long. So I got one more example um, about seek to understand, then to be understood. I had a really good buddy of mine, college roommate, and he's always had money trouble. He got kicked out of college. He's always down on his luck, but at the same time, he was always happy go lucky. He's a good friend of mine, and he was having trouble coming up with the rent, and so we had a lease together. And I said, "Hey, look," I said, "I know you're going through a really tough time. If you need to move away, move back home, move back to the Bay Area at the time, I was living in San Diego, and get back on your feet, and you have to do this or that because there's some things he had to do and this and that." I go, "Look, I won't hold you for the full rent, but you can give me, I think it was like $300 a month or something instead of 5. But you do need to finish out the lease with me. But if you really need to leave, but I do need that money to cover the other part of the lease, when you leave." And he's like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, so I went out of my way for him. I never got that money when he left. And he was like, "Oh yeah, next month I will. Yeah. I'm supposed to get it from this person or that person." And it was tough. I was pissed because I had to come up with, double my rent. I was low on money. And he had all these excuses and all these things. And I'm the one that suggested it to him because I was like, he needed to get back on his feet in a few different ways. And I felt like at the time, looking back, I'm the one that offered that. And he took it. Looking back, looking at his track record and how irresponsible he could be at times, and the fact that he didn't have any money when he left, I should have saw the writing on the wall that most likely he's probably not going to be, if he can't pay rent here, probably has the same mindset going to move somewhere else, and the same thing's going to happen. Anyways, it ended up working out for him in some other way. He got a scholarship somewhere else to play football and do some other things, and we stayed in touch. And years later, a friend of mine was like gaslighting the situation, as Mike would say. Adding a little fuel. Is he still owe you money? He never paid you. And I just decided, you know what, my buddy, I'd rather stay friends with him. He owed me like $1,000, and he still didn't have any extra money. It wasn't like he was rolling it. He was just getting by on rent. He had a job, and he was sorry. He was apologetic. He was like, "Look, dude, I don't have that money. At some point, I'll get you. I know I owe you that." But and he honestly was. He was just getting by. He was doing his thing. He had his own apartment and stuff. And the fact that he was apologetic, I understood that he just wasn't in a position to pay me back. He did some other things for me. I think he gave me, I guess he had a camera at the time or something like that was valuable. And I was like, "I don't really want it." He's like, "Let me give that to you because I just don't have anything extra." But the fact that he was apologetic about it, I was able to forgive him and understand where he was coming from, and understand that I actually gave him the out to move. And looking back, him moving was a really good thing for me because it was just bad energy staying with someone that was, always down and out. And he was having some trouble. And when he moved about 2 months later, it resulted in something good for him also. So it wasn't all bad. So how do we understand and then to be understood? Top 10 things. How do we do this? Number 1, listen better. Listen better. How do you listen better? You actually repeat some of the words back to people. You actually ask them questions pertaining to what they just said. You actually say to them, "I'm sorry again, please," because you're listening. You don't play with your phone because you're listening. Number 2, if you're highly angry or emotional, take a step back. Don't talk to someone or react emotionally because that's not going to be the best place to be in. Be rational and objective at some point before you confront them. Number 3, what actually happened? Feelings aside, objectively, what actually happened? Just put your feelings aside. If you feel betrayed, okay, just what happened? For example, this guy was talking about his girlfriend left him for one of his friends, or she left him first and then got with one of his friends. He felt betrayed by his friends. The reality is she got with someone new. She broke up with him. That's what happened. The idea that his friends betrayed him, all his friends, I'm not sure that's completely true. Okay. Number 4, where's your power in the situation? Number 5, is it their complete fault? Are you completely blaming them? Ignorance is bliss, right? Sometimes people just don't know what they don't know. Number 6, was this person born this way or did life experience mess them up? This is what happened with the Unabomber. He wasn't born to send people bombs. He actually had a really loving mom and he had a great relationship with his brother, but the life experience he had in college highly affected who he was later on. I'm not using it as an excuse, but I understand. And a lot of times when we have people in our lives and you look at them and they're narcissistic, they're selfish, they have an addiction issue, they have something in their background, some demon that they're dealing with that maybe you didn't deal with. And that's producing the individual in the present moment. And you got to understand that, and you'll be a little bit more compassionate. Number 7, this one's big. Dun, 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 dun. Agree to disagree. Agree to disagree. At some point you go, you know what? We're never going to agree. I have a couple friends like this that I've had to cut off because I'm like, you know what? We just don't see eye to eye and we're just playing this back and forth. Let's just agree to disagree. Number 8, not everyone sees the world the way you do. It's okay. This is why we all like different sports teams, because we're biased to our area, right? And we can fight over if the Niners are better than the Raiders or the Rams, but really it's just a different point of view based on bias. Number 9, how much of who you are and what you do is based on past experiences and how your parents or your grandparents or your auntie and uncle raised you. Other people didn't share those experiences. Those are unique to you, and that's what makes you different, and that's what makes them different. If you can understand that, you could probably understand people a lot better than trying to be understood all the time. Number 10, dun, 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 dun. Grow up. Grow up. Growing up is big, okay? And what I'm saying is when you grow up, you start to understand that your opinion, who you are, and the way you look at the world isn't for everyone. All right, we got some stuff to unpack here. Robert Sirocco, welcome, my friend. I hope you're well. Habit 5 from Stephen Covey is seek first to understand and then to be understood. I think I told you, but the school I teach at teaches the students these leadership habits. That's outstanding, Robert. It's outstanding that you're a teacher also. Got a big respect for that. And that's a really cool thing because these are kind of simple things, but sometimes we don't look at them again and again. I think it's important. What up, Mikey? Skinner, pleasure as always. What's up, guys? This guy is in his head, the influence, the control. What did he do in the end? He was made. So if you guys want to check that out yourself, the Unabomber series, I don't usually plug things like this. I don't even like stories that are overly gory, but this is a little deeper. It's psychological. Is the Unabomber based on a true story? Yes, as far as I know, in this particular one. I think I seen it, didn't hear. He failed the guy to break him, even though he was smart. Yes, that's what he says. The guy still didn't break him, but he had him crying like a baby. And then he continued to do it to him for 18 months or something like that. Yep, I remembered it. And he made it with no fingerprints, no scent. Yep, they downed him and he took revenge. What's up, Jay-Z? I got your email. I will get back to you in the next 48 hours or so. I got a lot of emails right now, but just to let you know, this is true. Oh, wow. Is held for review. Mike says, holy shit. And they held it for review. Grimy. Scotty Fitzgerald. Love the name. She was plotting on him. She had that shit worked out. I would cut them off because it was my boy and I stand on my word and principles. Yeah. Going back to that story about the friend, I'm okay with cutting out your ex and cutting out your friend. But the friends that were on the outside circle, I don't think they were going out of their way to fix this up. They're just innocent bystanders and spectators, or some of them were, right? And you got to think they just wanted to be neutral. And so that's the realization he came to. Instead of knocking off the whole circle of friends and blaming everyone, you got to come back to the realization they weren't all guilty. They weren't all involved in this, and they didn't know what to do. Because if it wasn't his friend, it would be someone else. Yes, Mike. It's good to have you back, Mike. You always preach some good stuff, bud. You should have never put her on the pedestal. Miguel Izeda. Izeda? Hey, man, what's up? Anyone right now, you want to drop anything about this topic? Or if you have any questions, this is where the live stream kind of goes into a little bit of this and a little bit of that. They're going to be like, I got next. I would have just found a new friends. Yeah, you can find new friends, but at the same time, if it's like 8 or 9 friends and one of them was really good friends, I don't think you just off all the friends. I think you can call them up and say, "Hey, dude, did you know about this?" And they're like, "Yeah, I kind of saw it coming, but I didn't know what to do." Right? Because he's friends with the girl and he's friends with the other guy too, but I definitely didn't think it was cool. And he said he reconnected with 2 of those friends and they had like a nice long chat and reconnected because he wasn't understanding where they were coming from. Because life goes on, something better out there. The abundance mindset, aka hypergamy. Yes. I don't know if you remember me, coach, from a few months ago. Miguel, I have an outstanding memory, but unfortunately, I do not remember you based on this name. So if you want to refresh my memory, I don't know if it was a live stream or you sent your story into writemac.com. A lot of people send their stories in with different names, or they just would write like M Azeta or something like that. So it's not ringing a bell, but welcome today. And that is the reason that it just introduced my girlfriend to my friends, but he never let her hang out with them. I mean, when I say I don't have a problem ever introducing my girlfriend to my friends or something like that, or when I have a girlfriend, but I'm just saying if your regular thing is to gonna go out to bars with friends and there's mutual friends that are single, it's not like you have to be paranoid about it, but I wouldn't make it a regular thing. You know what I'm saying? I honestly wouldn't have brought my girl around my so-called homeboy unless she was a slut and I didn't care. Well, I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. A lot of men are going to be men. I mean, I've even had, this is years back. If you got a good looking girlfriend, that's a good catch, which I have. And everyone knows it, right? I've even had like, then your friend will bring a friend of a friend, so they don't even have loyalty to you, and the friend will be like, "How long y'all been together? How long you guys been together?" And they're already trying to scheme like, she was looking at me and this and that. And when everyone's drinking, women get more flirtatious, and so you're putting yourself in that bad situation. You got to take accountability for that. Doesn't mean you need to beat yourself up, but you don't want to bring sand to the beach. The power to walk away is better. Absolutely, Mike. But if someone banged my girl and I find out the person had as a girlfriend, he's gonna find my underwear in bed with his girl, just waking up from a Mike. Oh God. I had friends in the past that once I introduced my girl to them, they started to casually talk to her. But good thing she warned me about once they started. I told her not to talk to them. Well, like I said, again, especially in your early 20s, there's certain age brackets where this is more likely. There's certain areas where this is more likely. And so you got to be cognizant and aware of that, not just say, "Oh, I can't believe this happened to me." It's like, wait a minute, dude. Some people don't grow up. I just leave them there and just work on my progress, bro. It's a simple statement, right? It's a simple statement because you're in your 30s too, Mike, right? I mean, you got a little seasoning on you. You're seasoned. You've been through some things and you just grow up and you just see things differently and you see them more clearly. She never talked to them after that. And I confronted my friends about it and they just came up and I just wanted to get to know her. But I said, nah, fam, leave her alone. Get your own. Like I said, don't put yourself in that position. It's been 6.5 months of no contact with my ex. I learned that she had been with 2 guys since the breakup. She still looks at my stories almost daily, even though she doesn't follow me anymore. Sorry if I'm changing topics. No, you can, at this point, you could talk about what you want. I just start off the live stream with something that's on the same topic, same thing, so that people that watch the live stream later on can watch about a topic and not just listen to us chit chat. It was a live stream talking about my toxic ex. Well, if you are getting excited or it's affecting your livelihood moving forward, that, well, she still looks at my stories, I would just block her from looking at your stories. If it really upsets you that she's hooked up with 2 guys in the last 6 months, first of all, I wouldn't even want to know. Second of all, if you already know, is that enough for you to say we're never getting back together because it just bugs the shit out of you? So sometimes people are like, "Oh yeah, they hooked up with so and so or this and that." It's like, if I've been apart from my ex for 6 months and they hooked up with 2 other guys, I don't think I want to get back in there anytime soon. So for me, I like if they're checking out my stories and stuff, where's my power? I'll just block them from that. Not because I'm bitter or upset, just because I don't want to have any interaction. Now, on the flip side, if you're one of those people that are like, oh, she hooked up with 2 guys, that's her right, which it is. We're single now. Good for her. I'm doing really well. Most guys are lying to themselves. They still feel like they have some kind of ownership in the relationship, and so it affects them. So take your power back. Don't have any association. The fact that, oh, she still looks at my stories, I don't think that's serving you, because in some way you're like, I think she still likes me. I think she still wants to hook up maybe. It's like, if you're upset that she's hooked up with 2 guys since, cut anchor, keep the boat moving. What's up, Black Widow? 81. So we have an interesting topic today. We can talk about some other things now that I've already talked about it, but seek first to understand, then to be understood. And this is actually absolutely paramount when you get in a breakup, actually, and within a relationship, right? Because we're constantly, I don't think I realized this till doing this coaching thing and being in my mid-30s, that everyone doesn't see the world like I do. I mean, the amount of people that go, well, I would never do that to someone else. And I'm like, that doesn't mean they wouldn't do it to you. She broke up with me because she was too afraid I would go to someone else, because apparently I am a great catch, and she would constantly be scared. Well, that means she's highly insecure and she's jealous, and that's not going to be a good relationship. So you can't change someone out of that. The only way she can change those insecurities is to identify them, deal with them, possibly seek therapy, counseling, coaching, and really confront them. But if someone's like that, and it's so interesting now because I talk to so many different people, and you see patterns, right? Because talking to different people, different ages, different cultures, everyone's running a pattern, and they think the rest of the world sees the world the same way. And so when you talk to them, being in my shoes, I can be objective. All right. I've had a lot of different friends. I've had different jobs. I've lived in different countries. And so I can kind of understand where they're coming from. There's certain things that are off limits, that are unacceptable, but most other things, it's like I said, when you're having a lot of trouble forgiving someone, or letting them go, you're probably spun on the fact that they aren't seeing the world the way you do, and you're like, I gotta set them straight. This is not supposed to be what's done. They need to be punished, or they need to be this. And the reality is they're probably just not going to change, especially people in their 30s, 40s, 50s. They usually don't change as much. People when 18, 19, they change a little bit. Mid 20s, they can change. People change less and less. They get grooved into who they are, and where we get caught up is like, wait a minute, you shouldn't be this way. It's like, no, that's how they are. So understand it, and then decide, am I going to deal with it? Am I going to accept it? Or am I going to cut anchor and move on, even though it's going to be really, really harsh, because this was a good fishing hole for a little while, right? But I'd rather just keep it moving. And since I worked on my purpose and hit that gym, these women I met have been good for me. Yeah, Mike, you pivoted pretty clean. Mike, I finally responded to her text, but she didn't said anything interested. Do I have to wait for her to suggest to hang out, or do I have to initiate it first? If you responded to someone's text, a woman that was your ex, and leave it alone. You got to, that Mike would agree, I think, you're supposed to go forwards with an S, not backwards. You're supposed to go forwards with it. I love it, Mike. It's true. But any kind of, I have to wait for her? That's needy. It's unattractive. Your mindset needs to be, I'm not waiting for her. That's not even questionable, because I got other things going on. I'm working on myself. And really, I'd rather fly solo than sit around hoping, wishing, and waiting for an individual to respond to a text. It takes a long time for me to forgive in time, but I don't like to bring things up unless someone else does. Well, that's an interesting thing to know about yourself because not everyone does that, right? Sounds a bit stubborn. A lot of people are stubborn, right? You might be thinking that's just how I am. But if you don't bring things up unless someone else does, is that serving you or does sometimes it hurt you? Brian Union, what's up, buddy? I do have your story response. I'm probably going to send it to you privately. They are insecure. That's an issue. Is it good to forgive but never forget? I don't think that I mean, the short answer is always good if you can forgive anyone for anything that's been done wrong to you, because by holding hatred and anger, it impedes you moving forward. Now, a lot of people would say certain things you can't forgive people for. Okay. I would say you can forgive, but it is probably more difficult unless you get amnesia to forget, because something's going to pop up and remind you. The only thing is, if someone did you wrong or hurt you in the past, if you can flip it into a lesson learned, then that's useful and that's helpful for you moving forward. That means that you actually have some life experience and you can navigate through the world a little bit more cleanly. And on top of it, if you got a friend, you got a nephew, you got someone in your life that you care about that's a little bit younger, you can shed some light and give them some knowledge that you gained because you already went through the experience. But if you hold some bitterness and anger for 5-10 years, all you're doing is you're staying in some moment or 5-10 years ago, and the moment ended a long time ago. And by you not forgiving that other individual in some way, and I'll say it this way, it's like we talked about earlier in this Unabomber series. What this guy did, he deserves to go to jail. He deserves to be in trouble. But at the same time, I'm like, damn, in some ways, like, can someone have some compassion for this individual? Right? Are you going to find a way to understand where they were coming from at that time? You know, I can forgive and definitely use it as a lesson learned. Well, that's the ultimate, right? Life goes on and you can find a better person that's right for you. That's absolutely gospel. Drop the mic, Mike. This is good. This is a little bit later for most people. I think it's a Friday. No, today's a Thursday night for you guys. I'm currently looking for a therapist. I need someone to talk to. Well, that's outstanding, Chestnut. I think that's good for you. And that's the first step if you're having some things that you're having trouble sorting through. Talking to someone is probably a first step, identifying what you're really having trouble with. And if you're carrying something from your childhood or a past life experience in your teen years. I wasn't really sensitive to, I think there started this movement in the States where they like, don't let your kid get bullied. Bullying is done all over. And I kind of was like, I went to a few different schools when I was younger. Elementary and then middle school was kind of a rougher school, but I liked that school. And there was definitely some bullies there, but I never was bullied in a way that affected my life or anything. You get in fights or you get in these things when you're a kid and stuff. And so I just didn't know where people were coming from. I thought they were exaggerating. I thought that they were being victims, and that wasn't fair. It's just that I never had experienced that in school. And then hearing some people's stories of being like bullied or, really, really messed with, I didn't understand it because I didn't go through it. So I was like, oh, they're every school has this. They need to get up off the mat, this kind of a thing. But actually, some people's stories of that, like looking back at this guy, the Unabomber and stuff, it's like some of the things that happened to him, it really affects you later on. And I don't know what the answer is to take that away, but I do know as another human being, I could be compassionate about it and go, well, wait a minute, you know what? I didn't grow up that way, so I can't understand fully where they're coming from. But instead of looking at them like, yeah, that's bullshit, I could be like, well, that's their journey. I wanted to make peace with her, but she was always so angry at me for me being hurt, and every chance she gets, she tries to hurt me for some reason. I don't know if I should text her. I wanted to make peace with her. Mike's good people. You could do this, Mike. You could do coaching. You have your own little flavor. You got good charisma too. I'm sorry, I lost my place. I wanted to make peace with her, but she was always so angry at me for being hurt. And every chance she gets, she tries to hurt me for some reason. I don't know if I should text her. Well, there's your answer. Read that again to yourself, your own words. And if an individual is trying to hurt you, that most likely means that you hurt them and they're not letting it go. And so where are you going to win? Where are you going to win on that? Because every time why would you text someone that tries to hurt you all the time? You're just jumping back into a booby trap over and over again that you know is right in front of you. So stop contacting her. This idea that she's hurt and she's upset with you, the idea that your objective is to make peace with her, well, she's not there yet. And she probably needs to decide that, not you. No, don't text her. She clearly is choosing not to make peace. Sometimes people will never get closure no matter what the situation is. Good point, Black Widow. I'd be more than willing to help, and I can recommend people to coach Mac. Well, thanks, Mike. My ex responded to a post where a guy said, people throw you under a bus to protect their image. She said she just went through that several months ago. I shared my roll through. I don't know what you mean by I shared my roll through. I don't know what you mean by that, Brian, at the end. But it's been, I shared my role, though. Are you saying you maybe elaborate a little bit on that? But it's been around 6 or 7 months. I mean, what do you want, Miguel? You want peace, right? I don't think she wants peace. If she wants peace, she knows where to find you. You knocking on the door and going, let's be peace. I think that here's how it works. And maybe Black Widow, being a woman, could elaborate on this and take it from a female's perspective. Excuse me. Every time you see her, she tries to hurt you because you hurt her. She's upset with you. She's angry. She's hurt. And you're going over like, oh, let's just make peace. Let's be friends again. And she's doing something to hurt you, even though it's been 6 or 7 months. What's the point at this point? To make peace? If she wants to make peace with you, she'll reach out to you. At this point, if you reach out to her, based on what you're telling me, most likely she's gonna go for a kick in the balls. And I don't mean physically. She's gonna go, oh, you came around again, and she might talk to you for a minute, and most likely she'll bring you back down to ground zero, smack you around a little bit mentally, and then you're like, oh my God, she hurt me again. I can't believe this. It's been 6 or 7 months. It's like, no. She wants to decide when she's gonna give peace, because right now she's the one that doesn't want to give peace. She's hurt. You know, I've said this one before. Why do people kill mosquitoes? Why do people kill mosquitoes? That's like one of the few bugs or things that everyone will kill a mosquito, right? You see, boom, you smack it. Like, oh, I got him. Yeah. Maybe 90% of the population around the world will kill a mosquito if they see him. Why? Because mosquitoes can hurt you, right? That's why. You feel like that fucker, if he bites me, it's not just a bite, but mosquitoes carry disease too, right? You see a butterfly flying around, do you ever kill it? No. It's peaceful, it's beautiful, it's graceful. Right? The threat, the idea that someone hurt you before is like that mosquito running around. So you come back, Miguel, and you're like, yeah. She's going to be like, she's not going to go, oh, it's so great to see you. Because to her, what you did to her is a lasting hurt right now. And what do you think let's say everything goes right. This is what I do sometimes in coaching, Miguel. Let's say everything goes right. And she's like, oh my God, I've been wanting to get peace with you. It's been so long. It's so great. Do you even believe that will happen? Number two, if it did, would you make you feel that much better? Because you're still broken up. Sorry if I seem needy. Seeing her with her new guy today messed me up real good. Well, if that messed you up really good, then stay away, because you're not ready to talk to her. and you're going to put yourself in an extremely awkward and uncomfortable situation that'll make it worse and worse. So you need to get your butt up off the mat right now. And the good thing is you're on this live stream. You might want to book a live coaching with myself and maybe get a little deeper. If you want to talk to someone else, go ahead. I don't mind. But these live streams are really good. But if you want to take it a step further, a live coaching session for an hour, hour and a half, if you had a really deep relationship and you want to get everything out. I talk to people for 2 hours straight sometimes, and always, every time, man, I needed that 2 or 3 times during the conversation. They're basically saying, like, I've been holding all this crap, right? I needed to get it out to someone. Leave that alone. Make peace with God. It's easier. I'm sorry if it seemed needy. Don't be sorry to me, bud. No worries. I'm here to help you. What if you get blocked right after the breakup, but you didn't do anything wrong or get blocked? If you didn't do anything wrong, don't be sorry. Don't try to plead your case. Don't try to get people to understand you. Just go, oh, I guess we'll have to agree to disagree. That shouldn't matter. I didn't just say what she did. I also took accountability. Your situation is deep, Brian. Your story. That's why I'm not going to post it. Exactly. It would be an annoyance to her. When I'm hurt, I don't want to be bothered, period. And I hate when someone pushes that hurt, then turns into anger. She just wants validation from you. You just have to keep moving forward and live your life to the fullest without her. Remember, you really don't need your ex. Good point, Chestnut. Hurt people hurt people. Isn't that the truth? Wait. Does the booking cost by hour? What, for coaching? Yes. It's a service. It does cost money. Thank you, people. No problem, Miguel. This is what this live stream is for. At the end, I give some extra time. The other individuals on here, we're all here to help each other. Right? As long as I can do this and give some extra time, it's helpful to you guys, I'll do that. As Michael Jackson said, you are not alone. Christina B. I haven't seen you on before, I believe. Oh, no, Christiana B. Excuse me. Hey, Mac, my boyfriend broke up with me over a month ago. I didn't beg and plead after the breakup, but I did before the breakup. My boyfriend broke up with me over a month ago. I didn't beg or plead after the breakup, but I did before the breakup. I took him off Instagram and Snapchat to heal faster. Well, good for you. I think that's the only thing you could do, right? Is there a question you have, Christiana? He blocked me on Instagram. Well, that's his prerogative, right? He's telling you he doesn't want to be in contact with you anymore. Exactly. I think you need to forgive yourself and love yourself first. Absolutely. Chestnut, yes, my name is Mac. Social media is the devil. That's a strong word, but it definitely is affecting a lot of people's mental health in the 21st century. I think we could agree on that, right? And I definitely think it's going to twist you up like a pretzel if you're in a breakup. And so, I've told people before, I didn't grow up with it when I was like in high school or even college. I think it was barely starting. And the amount of people that have mental issues right now, I don't know, is it quadrupled in the world? Is it wrong of me to be emotionless in the relationship? You have emotions. You just don't like the emotions you have. You're always having emotions. I mean, to be completely emotionless, I'm not sure that's possible. Being bored is an emotion, right? Being stoic is somewhat of an emotion. So it's been my Achilles heel this entire breakup. What, social media? Well, then where's your power, Brian? A lot of people, if that's the case, this is what I would do. Stay off the ankle, right? If it's Achilles. So what I would do, I tell people this, just take 1 month off of social media. You don't have to quit. You don't use the word forever, or I'll never do social media. Just go. Some other dude told me he had a friend change his passwords on his phone. So like he still had the app when he wanted to come back and just do a 30-day challenge or a 30-day fast on social media. Tell your friends and family, like, I'll get back to it later on, text me if you need to. Maybe you have some kind of texting app like WhatsApp, something like that. And just stay off it and just see if you feel better. Just do it as an experiment. Mm-hmm. I won't block someone or delete them. I'll just step back. And if they come back, then they do. If not, then oh well. When I'm ready to really close that door, it will close. Fair play. You seem very clear on who you are and what you're about. Yeah, but the thing is, if the relationship broke up in a bad way, you staying tied through social media is passive communication, and it's going to lead you down. It's like you're in a maze trying to figure out where they're at, and you keep hitting dead ends. Ooh, they took a picture with someone else. Ooh, they said this. Ooh, they said that. I'm not going to contact them. They can contact me. Ooh, and your brain's going, and there's no end because you're not getting any answers. You're just creating questions that are ever ending. And then on top of it, even worse, you create assumptions. Oh, I saw her in a picture. She must be so happy without me. You don't know that. Definitely. If you cut off one source, cut off. Like I said, I've had people do this, folks, where they're like, "Oh, I can't cut social media. I can't cut. Why? I'm not telling for the rest of your life, but if it's not, I actually, I've mentioned this before. There was a group of couple people I know that I grew up with that are really doing well professionally, and they got their shit stuff in order. And I was like, oh yeah, this was years back. And I'm like, oh, you do Facebook? They're like, no, we quit that. I quit that a while ago. Can't get caught up in that mess. And it was because of relationship stuff too. They just were like, nah, I don't need it. I'm doing really well. And they were just like, it wasn't even like, oh, they want to talk about it for 10 minutes. They're like, nah, I quit that a long time ago. I don't even do that. It's like, don't call me, but I'm open to messages. That's stupid. Oh wow, no long Koki lover, long time no here. Seattle Seahawks fan. I hope you're doing better. I started to get in social media once every 6 months to check what I've missed, and after that I got back on working on my side. Good for you, Chestnut. LOL. What are you laughing about? The name Koki Lover? It is kind of a funny name. Koki Loverall. I believe you're from Canada, right? Even though you're a Seahawks fan, if I remember correct. I do that too. Social media does not run my life. Good. I mean, it's like anything else. Everything can become a bad habit. And until something is a problem, it's not a problem, right? They say that about alcohol for some people. It's like someone's like, oh, I like my drinks, I like my cocktails, this and that. But until it becomes a problem, like you can't get up for work, or you're making an ass out of yourself on the weekends getting in fights, and then you wake up the next day and you're like, I have a friend like this. It's like, oh, I got in a fight last night, and he was drunk, right? Oh, I wasn't drinking that much, and I was like, so this is classic. So what happened? What did the guy say? I can't remember what he said. He's just being disrespectful to some woman. I go, but you don't remember what he said? Nah, I don't. And you weren't that drunk? It's like, get the fuck out of here. And then 2 months later, gets in a fight again with some random person. It's like, what happened? I don't really remember what he said, but he said some fucked up shit. It's like, you're not taking responsibility that alcohol is starting to contribute to you getting in fights, because I've known the guy for years, and when I'm around him, I've never seen him be, I won't want to say like he's scared of confrontation, but he's not going around decking people. And so that's when people just make up these stories. You got to realize, wait a minute. And the social media story is, oh, then my ex will never be able to contact me. I'll never get to see them. It's like, yeah, but what's the trade-off here? You're sitting here spying on them, playing stakeout detective, trying to figure out what's going on with their life. The reality is you'll never know by looking at pictures online. Yeah, it's true. Social media is a constant guessing game. You always make assumptions on what he's thinking, why he seems so happy, but you never know this for certain. So my question is, Miguel, I say this all the time. If you watch my channel, where's your power? I'm not saying this about you because I've done it in my life. You complain, you say, oh, this is not right, this is wrong. Where's my power? What can I do? Oh, that's right. I can stop social media for 1 month and just see if it makes me feel better. Oh, that's right. I completely can block them. You have some options. You have some things that you're not trying yet. And if you say like, oh, I could never do that because of this, well, fine. Stay in your same rut. Social media is a platform. People hide behind it. You will never know how that person is until you're around them. That's good. I mean, yeah, sometimes, what's up, Rob? Good to have you, bud. 1 hour in. It's late over there, right? Black Widow, what to do to improve the relationship? She left me for taking her for granted. Any suggestions? 1 a.m. It's 12:12 p.m. where I'm at. 12:12. Is that good luck? Someone on a live coaching call just had me go. It was 11:11 where they were at. And they're like, you want to make a wish? And I'm like, actually, it's 10:11 where I am, but I'll make a wish. Me and my ex texted me for a week, and I realized he never asked how I was doing. It was always about him. When I asked him why, he said he had better things to worry about. Well, there's your clarity. Oh, what are they up to right now? Do they still care about me or this? No. The guy seems like he's an asshole. He seems like he has better things to worry about, and that's his prerogative, right? He just so offended. He talked to me for so long and then say that. Well, I'd rather know where he stands. That's how I'd frame that. Now you know where he stands, and now you can say, actually, I don't want to reconnect with this individual. He's hurt me again and again and again. Just so offended. Where's your power in being offended? Okay, let me just cut off all contact with this individual. I know where he stands. He hurt me again. And if I was a little kid and I got burnt by the stove, would I go back to the stove and keep burning myself? No. No. What you do is you go, I'll never touch that stove again because it burned me 2 or 3 times really bad. Yeah, I blocked him, but it's been hard to deal with that. Why? Let me ask you this, like, why is it hard to deal with blocking someone that is hurting you? What if this was your sister, brother, best friend, and they told you the story? Would you tell them, like, get rid of this guy, feeling not even worthy of him, wondering how I am? Well, it's a lot of weight to put on one human being in this wide range of universe and world that you feel like one individual is going to give you your self-worth. This guy does not define you as an individual, Koki lover. Think about that. This was just a chapter and a moment in your autobiography. But hearing that from someone you love is rough. It is rough, but you're going to get through it. Quit layering sauce back onto you're layering more and more sauce on top of it. You got to reframe how you're wording this, Koki lover. So you know what? I'm sick of this. He's told me who he is. He doesn't care about me, this and that. This is a battle I'm not going to win. And this is not a relationship that's ideal for me. Maybe I have to heal for a little bit. Maybe it takes 2 or 3 months. Maybe I have to book a live coaching session with Mac, whatever. But start making some progress forward and stop contacting this individual. Damn, I felt that, Koki. No blocking wasn't hard. But hearing that from someone you love, honestly, nothing. I mean, at some point, if you choose to want to keep the relationship going and you love her, let her learn from her mistakes. If she comes back, don't solely wait on her. Good advice, B Widow. Somehow, whenever you finally start to move on, finally feeling better, that's when you receive the fateful text. And that's when you get the decision to let them in or not. At least that's what I've been told. Okay, let me talk about this for a moment. Listen up, 13 on deck. There's no rules to this shit. I know there's the no contact rule and all this other stuff, but there's no absolute. There's a better way to put it. So yeah, once you move on and everything, that's when they'll text you. Sometimes. Sometimes with some people's experience, sometimes they'll never text you again. So that's the difference in my approach. Like you go to some other channels, I'll be like, do this, do that, do this, do that, do this. Here's the 5-step process. Here's the none of I need to know your individual. I need to know your individual situation. I know some background about you, some nuances, and I can give you a tailored response. But this idea, like, yeah, after 5 or 6 months, if you don't contact them and you start to move on, that's when they do contact you. In the movie Swingers, they talk about that. There's a guy on YouTube that tells that story really dramatically. Yeah, it just happens when you take away your energy. It happens, but it's a possibility that they meet someone else and they're with someone else. There's all kinds of other possibilities. None of this stuff, like, here's the thing about breakups. Everyone in the world goes through one, right? I don't care if you live till 90 years old, you've probably been in 1 or 2 breakups, okay? And every breakup has a little nuance to it, a little difference. And so when someone says, "Oh, this is what always happens," maybe 50% of the time in America, but maybe not 50% of the time in India. And now we got all these different cultures that are getting together. There's a lot of little nuances to this stuff. So trying to figure out like the secret sauce or the rule of the game, it's going to drive you nuts. I've told people before, a couple of people that are on right now that I've done live coachings with before, I would say that that's one of your things. If you're like, oh yeah, it's kind of expensive. All right, we'll find someone else. But things that help you out that are expensive, they end up being worth it. I did live coaching when I was in a bad one. And it really helped me out because you're not getting clear on things and you're just going in circles and you're giving fragments of your stories, in comments or to talk to friends. And you sit down for 1 hour, 2 hours, you get fucking clear on this stuff. Thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. I'm not going to be unsensitive to the fact that everyone has different amounts of money. So I understand that. But if that's your reason, it's extremely limited. If you're in a really tough time right now and you're having trouble, I just had someone recently like, fuck, I'm glad I contacted you. And I think it's odd because I think it's odd when you're going through such a tough time to not go, all right, I'm going to try this. I did hypnotherapy, worked really well. I talked to a spiritual healer, worked really well because I was open and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try a few different things. So I don't want to keep feeling this way. I'm not just going to go to my buddies, one of my buddies that's a contractor, and get relationship advice. That's not his realm. Actually, he's annoyed by the fact he just wants to get me laid, right? He just wants me to be a buddy and have a beer. And so we go through all these things. And then it's like, oh, I can't do that because this, and this. Well, you don't really want to heal then. You don't really want to look for solutions. Don't be a victim. Honestly, nothing. I mean, okay. Somehow, whenever you finally start to move on. And when I said that, Miguel, I'm not saying what you said is untrue. I'm just saying it's not cut and dry. Okay. It's not like, oh, this is one thing people have asked me, what do you really learn? People generalize. They like to generalize. All people that have a Mercedes-Benz are rich. That's not true. Someone can get a used Mercedes for cheap. They can get a repo or something. All people are, it's just like we talk about stereotypes and different things like that, but you do the same thing in breakups. Oh, if I do no contact for 45 days, then they'll come back. It's like, that's not a good question because no, there's no rule that works that way. There's no math in effect. This isn't business. This isn't about numbers necessarily. This is about feelings and getting clear on who you are and where you're at as an individual. And then if they come back, it's a bonus. Almost 6 months here, doing better some days. It's rough. Over 10 months of no contact. Or a call in the middle of the night that catches you off guard. What's up, Matt A? How you doing, bud? I'll be responding to your email in the afternoon probably today, which will be when you're probably asleep, I think, with your time zone. My BF knows he took me for granted. We still talk. I still love him. I do want to be with him, but at this point of the game, it's up to him. I still have options, which I keep open. We'll keep your options open. I like that last line. Good close. Y'all are making me feel better. Laugh out. It's okay that I get sad. It's absolutely okay you get sad. Like if I sat here and brought the ambulance around and was like, oh yeah, like it's so bad what he did to you. It's better for me, correct me if I'm wrong, the other people on deck right now, to give you like a little bit of, hey, wait a minute, let's look at this a little bit different. Let's stop being let's stop being in this zone where it's all so bad, doom and gloom. And you got some other people supporting you and stuff like that. But at some point, and this is what people tell me when they turn the corner, they just get sick of it. They're just like, I'm tired of feeling sorry for myself, or I'm tired of thinking this person's going to change. I'm tired of thinking this way, and they're just done. That's the word. I just was done. And I'm like, really? That's usually when you turn the corner. That's a really good language to use with yourself. You're like, I'm done. Because it's like you just keep running into a brick wall. Some people, 20 plus breakups. Yeah, that's when people have regular, if someone's like, oh, I've been with, 15 different people as a relationship, not just a hookup. It's like, they're not very good in relationships then. Not expensive at all. It's money well spent. Well, thanks, Rob. I appreciate that, bud. Widow, how do I improve and have another chance with her? It's hard, especially when you're love and you give your heart and everything to that person. It sucks. What's up, Daniel? Always a pleasure, my friend. Have you read The 3% Man? Yeah, Chestnut, maybe you want to start reading some of these books. The one I like for you're in your early 20s is The Rational Male by Rollo Tomassi. My ex was a rebound, and when I moved on with her, I never contacted my previous ex. I did check her social media from time to time, but I didn't want her back, just curious. Well, in that case, you had no expectations, and that's when social media is not as harsh on you. But if you still have feelings, yeah, Mac did a review on it. Oh, okay, yeah, that's true. I forgot about that review. That was a long review. That was actually a request by a client that I had a long time ago, and he was in India. He's like, I don't want to buy the book, coach. Can you review it for me? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. But I do saying that. If you watch a book review on any channel, I would recommend that you do get the book. And the thing about 3% Man for Corey Wayne is the book is a simple and easy read. And I don't mean that negatively. I think the information is simple to strain through, right? So that's why when he says you can read it 10 times if you like, and really get it in, it's not a difficult read. It doesn't have a lot of big words or concepts. It's story based in a lot of ways, and so reading it wouldn't take you a very long time. You could read that easily in a day. I would let show you, prove to you, and don't automatically think it will happen. Then you know the answers. Moving on is the hardest thing to do. I swear it is. Well, the hardest things to do actually have some of the best outcomes for you, though. TG, I don't know who TG is, so I talked to that girl again, Mac. I don't know who TG is. But there's so many questions to be answered. I have a friend who is going through a breakup and accepted friendship, but is in no contact. He didn't beg or plead, and it's been 2 weeks since the breakup. How does he clarify that friendship does work? He's in no contact, but they're friends. I don't understand that. Secondly, does he want to be friends, or is this just a bridge for him to somehow get back with her? If that's the case, then he's probably going to be disappointed. If he honestly can just be friends or friends with benefits and have no expectations, then fine, that's okay. But if he's doing it like, oh, if I stay friends, we can get back together, I think that can work in a very small percentage of people, and it's weak, it's misleading, it's trickery. And in the end, if the woman or a girlfriend knows him, she'll know that he's not sincere in just wanting to be a friend by the way he talks to her. And so if that's the case, tell him, sometimes people go, oh, I want to leave the door open, or I don't want her to think I hate her. That doesn't mean you hate him if you just say, I don't want to be friends. When did you start learning all the knowledge? Rob's asking Chestnut. Okay. I texted her a few days after she started being distant, and we started talking a lot this week, and she asked to get together yesterday. I don't remember your story, TG. I texted her a few days after she started being distant, and we started talking a lot this week, and she asked to get together yesterday. Well, go for you. I don't know the details. It is hard. And moving on is easy for some, but for others, how much you invest, it doesn't happen so quickly. Moving on has to do with the individual situation and the individual and the breakup. So what I've noticed, and I've asked friends before, that that were in breakups. I remember when I was going through it years back, and I was puzzled by the fact that I was so upset about it. And a buddy of mine that, like, what I call, he has a lot of buckets full. Like, he makes good money. He's a highly confident individual. Um, you know, very popular, a lot of friends. I said, he's like, oh yeah, man. He's like, I went through one in my 30s. We were going to get married and this and that. And I was like, how'd you pivot out? He goes, I went to Vegas that weekend and had a great time. But his thing was, a lot of times sometimes people are together like 10 years or 8 years or 9 years. They pivot out of it really clean because for 2 or 3 years, the relationship's kind of like died down. It's almost like the relationship goes like this. And so they're able to come out of it. But really, the people that come out of it the best are people that have other areas of their life fulfilled. They have a job they really love. They have a place that they live in that's really nice. And I don't mean like a mansion. I just mean the area they live in. They got other parts of their life under control, and they feel really good about themselves, and they're okay to be an individual. And so that's a large part of putting out your breakup story, and understanding, when I ask you some questions, are you happy in other areas of your life? Because that's contributing and layering on top of the breakup and making it a little bit more worse. Moving on, is he okay? Been through that, brought it up the next time the friendship thing was brought up the second time. Then we had plans for today, and she ended up bailing and saying she doesn't think we should keep hanging out because she's not in a position to start moving forward. Is this is this the story I read about long distance? I'm not, just curious. See, that's your clarity right there. She ended up bailing and saying she doesn't think we should keep hanging out because she's not in a position to start moving forward. Well, there's your clarity. Smacked you in the mouth. It hurt. You're at ground zero again. You're in no contact. You need to regroup. You need to start maybe reading some books on dating and women and relationships, or, if you're really having trouble, book a live coaching session with myself and unpack this thing, because you can't revisit this again. You can't chase this individual. She's controlling the whole narrative and the whole situation. And she ended up bailing, says she doesn't think she should keep it. She's just controlling the situation. And I've talked about this to people before, timing and circumstance. Some people don't trust their decision making because of where they're at in life, and it'll drive you fucking nuts. So they like you one day, and the next day they don't like you. They want to hook up one day, and the next day they go, "Oh, we're moving too fast." And there's no. It's like a really good relationship should flow like a river. You go around rocks, and there's little eddies and there's little swirls, but it's all moving and it's flowing. It's like when people do this, like dam up the river. You know what I mean? And then they're like, "Okay, let it flow." And they stop it, and it's just like, you can't get any traction on the relationship, and then it becomes this game that they're dictating, and you got to stop yourself and go, I don't want to play this anymore. Most of the time, silence is the best tool to help you. The book is free, though. Oh yeah, okay. I didn't know. Thanks, Rob, for clarifying that. If you want to recommend his book anytime, I don't mind. I guess you can get it on his website, right, Rob? Well, that's good knowledge. What happens if she was diagnosed with borderline disorder? It's a kind of mental problem if maybe you don't know. Well, I've heard of it. I'm not highly familiar with it, so I'm not going to go into detail and act like I'm someone that specializes in that. But I don't think you're in a position where you're going to help an individual like that either. She needs to go, whatever that is, whether that's medical treatment, therapeutic treatment. She needs to treat that on her own. You certainly haven't conveyed that you're the individual that can save her from that or fix it. If she was diagnosed with that, she's got to address that on her own. If she wants you to support her, then you would still be in a relationship. Now that you're broken up and you feel like you should be there for her, if she doesn't want you to be there, here's the thing. Anytime someone has an issue with depression, anxiety, borderline disorder, any of these things, there's ways they can work on it. There's ways they can combat it. There's ways that they can work through it. And usually, if you're a waitress or you got a regular job as a car salesman or something like that, you can support them, but you're not going to be able to fix it. And so that can be frustrating at times, and they have to want your support. Sometimes, a lot of times I see people get pushed away, brought back in, pushed away. That's not really fair to you. Took me 9 damn years to move on from my last ex. I had all the signs I ignored for years, and the final straw for me was when he started living with me and watched me struggle financially. Well, everyone has their point. If it's some sort of crazy version, then I would bounce. Yeah, that's not being insensitive. That's just saying that you're not the person to treat that. Rob, didn't help me at all. A bad influence on my troll. I'm just toxic all around. Well, the good news is it's over. This is his ex, and he is my friend. Okay, Daniel, thanks for clarifying that. Had that happen once. Was some insane craziness. Leaving was the only option. I think that, yeah, you're not going to be the one to fix, borderline disorder. And so if they're not getting the proper help and making progress and somehow blaming you or pulling you down into that realm, then it's time for you to maybe move on. You're right. Silence speaks volumes. She left me and seemed to be able to turn the page so fast. That's why it was a complete surprise to me. Well, surprises are clarity. She told you who she was. You got to accept that. So understand this. When I say seek to understand, then to be understood, some people don't like being lonely. Women are more available, or they tend to pivot out of a relationship more easily and jump into another one than men do, in my experience. And that's not necessarily personal. That's a choice. And whatever consequences come from that rebound or doing that quickly, that's on them. A lot of people, they're going to end up messing up. Well, see what happens. Let it go. My ex contacted me like a week after we broke up in March, but she was different, didn't try to see me or talk on the phone. I begged, and I told her I wanted closure. I was all over the place. Well, if you're all over the place, then you need to regroup and understand why. Oh, it's Trail. Okay. I wouldn't know TG. I've got a good memory. I remember most people, but I wouldn't just be able to understand, this is so-and-so because of the initials. Your particular situation, Trail, I would move on and not look back. We've talked about your situation. I've given you my input. You've said something again today about it. Now it's time to move forward from that individual. I don't think that's a very good relationship. I think it's like a dog chasing its tail. That's a classic move. What disorder does she have? I hope you never do that again. She eventually blocked me and stopped responding. Yeah, your particular situation, Brian, you need some time to heal, bud. And I think the fact that you're considering therapy is a really good thing. Brian, that's typically the obvious result. Rob, yeah, I haven't heard from her since. When someone blocks me, deletes me, they're showing you they don't want to be bothered. I can take a hint. I don't know. For me, I think people really think that they're closing the door and never talking to someone again. And I think that you're making a point that, this is how the relationship was. And if we're not going to be this kind of relationship in the future, it's not that I'm just bitter, angry, and hurt, which is possible. But I'm also like, if I'm ever going to move on, I probably need to just take your energy and everything I know about you and put it to the side. Right. And the longer you go without something, the more it gets easier and easier. Right. It's like if I don't have enough money to own a car, right? I've had friends have the drunk driving and they had their license taken away. Right. And you probably have friends like this or something like that. And they end up getting the bus route. They end up finding a friend that gives them regular rides from work. They end up adapting because they have to. And it sucks. They're pissed off at first because they have no car. It's expensive. They might have to get an Uber, all this other stuff, but they end up adapting to it. And the reason they adapt is they have no other choice. But on the flip side, in the beginning, it sucks. And the same thing with going no contact and breaking up. It's not the same thing. It's not apples to oranges. But the whole point is, why not start the process of seeing what it's like to be single? It's going to suck in the beginning, but the only way to start the process is not to do it half-ass and be like, I just talked to them yesterday and they wanted to see each other. Because people that break up with you, I'm not going to say everyone because everyone's different, but there's a large majority that really would like to stay in contact with you as a friend or a friend with benefits, or with the option to get back together if things don't work out in their little playful single life. And so when you make yourself available like that, you're putting yourself out there as being vulnerable to just breaking up or being disappointed over and over again. So where's your power out? Your power's at, you know what, I'm going to accept the breakup. It's horrible. It hurts. It sucks. But I got pride. I'm a strong, confident individual. I've been through this maybe before. I've overcome shit in my past. But I'm not going to be that person knocking at the door, begging and pleading, because that's not me. It happened to me too. She moved on so fast that it was hard for us to take. I used to check on her using my friend. Borderline. She told me apparently she is so afraid of people leaving her that she will sabotage the relationship. I was so perfect with her that she started doing some crazy stuff. Well, reread that again, Miguel, and ask yourself, if your best friend, your brother, your sister, your cousin, your mother, your father was in a relationship and they told you that, what would you tell them? I think that's pretty crystal clear. If someone can't, and there are people out there that strive on drama and expect drama and create drama, and it's not your fault, but you'll be manipulated. Been talking for an hour and a half here, into believing that it's all your fault or you're bad, and it's not. And so that kind of relationship you can't win, but the only way you can win is to move forward and possibly put yourself in a position for meeting someone that's a better match for you. Well, you may never in the end, but best option is to become aware of attraction and be ready if she happens to slide back in the mix. I left it alone. April, May was hard. I could function at work. For the love of Christ, you must bounce. Nothing good can likely come from that situation. I did that mistake, erasing all the photos of the relationship. Was it bad in my past to do so? Brian, I completely understand when it interferes with your job or even your health. Now, that's definitely a clue. You need to seek professional help. That's how one moves forward, gives you back some of the power. Those are reminders, triggers for you. But the thing is that I did it right after the breakup. It sounds like you did it right. Was it an impulsive reaction that you regret? You can look at this little helpful group. You could probably get them off your hard drive still. Low key is, but thinking I was doing the right thing. I start erasing things when incompletely done. That is my release. I don't want any visual memories. They stay in my mind, and that's enough for me. I agree with Black Widow. I got rid of all pictures and all those things. Someone might think that's bitter. It wasn't. It was me being done and moving on. I remember I was like, you can pick up your pictures and stuff on the porch. You still had some stuff you left at the house. And I put them on the porch because I don't want to see her in person, because I just, I don't want to put myself in a situation where we're going over this. A lot of times during the breakup, everything's been said at the end. You're going to go over it again? I don't even know, man. I'm so confused. Hey, Max, sent second short email about the cautious woman thinking I should move up my next session. You can absolutely move up your next session. You want to talk this weekend? You can. Absolutely. We're going to go bi-weekly, but if you want to book one for tomorrow or the next day, there's times available. Go ahead and do that, Matt. Because there's a lot that you want to unpack. That's completely fine. Book it now if you like. What are you confused about? She doesn't have any pics of me, but she still has pics of me with my niece on her Facebook pic of her with my mom. I thought she'd delete that stuff. I did so, but I did not. Okay. My pride takes over me. Yeah, you people are right. And I know that would be it. I guess I feel stupid still having feelings for even thought I know she doesn't deserve it. Don't feel stupid. This isn't my goal to sit here and go, oh, how stupid you are. No, you're unpacking some things or looking at them. You are just clouded by the fact that you have feelings for this individual and you care about her. So you have trouble looking at it in an objective way. And that's why you come to someone like myself that's not biased and doesn't have a lot of ties to your situation. So I can be honest with you. Miguel, if you want to book a live coaching session, we can unpack it fully and get to the bottom of it a little bit. But you're not stupid. Okay. That's not where I'm going with this. It's all a journey, bro. I'm out. Thanks for all help. Have a good one, Chestnut. Thanks for the contribution. 92 later. Brian, she still has some control over the situation. If someone isn't done, they will show you. She still cares for you to some degree by keeping pics of you. Sure, sounds about right. I don't know of any of you people, but thank you a lot. I had a little panic attack earlier. Talking to you all was really helpful. Coach, thank you for creating this place. It really helps a lot. This is what we do in the Thailand. The why. You know what this means? When you put your hands like this, it actually means I come in peace. Yeah, absolutely, Miguel. Saying that I'm spending an hour and a half here. I'm at the tail end of this right now. But just you alone saying that makes us feel good too, right? So it's reciprocal, man. If you had a panic attack, and sometimes when I'm giving advice, sometimes I'm like, I hope this person doesn't take this too personal, because I'm gonna get a little bit tough, or I might say some things that upset you. But it's gonna get better, Miguel. Seek solutions. Don't go over the same problem over and over again. That's one of the questions I give to people before. I'm like, are you in a solution-based mode? And sometimes people go, what does that even mean? It's like usually that means that you're just focusing on a problem. When you start unpacking things about, okay, where's my power? All right, what are some things I can try to get through this? So really good session today. I appreciate you guys. Does anyone have any closing question? Thank you for the likes. It helps the algorithm. I'm going to sleep now. No, you stay classy, people. Big live. Thanks, Miguel. I appreciate you too. It takes a while, but you have to work. Skinner's right. There's some things to do. There's some videos to watch. Do some action items. Top 10 things to do when you're in no contact. Different things. People contact me all the time. They're like, "Oh shit, I watched your top 10 things to do in no contact. One of them really resonated. One of them did this." So you're going to be okay, but you do have to be proactive and stop going with the mouse wheel and redirect that mind frame and that mind work. And entering something like this and being a bit vulnerable and sharing what you're doing, you're making an effort right now. And that's why you're getting some results. Any closing questions, folks? It's about lunchtime for me. The rain finally stopped. We had a crazy storm today over here, which when it storms here, the nice thing is it's not cold. It's not freezing or anything. It's just raining. Great session today, folks. Great session. Got ourselves a little tribe here. And I thought to myself, I was coming on later. I was like, oh, this is going to be a little bit late for some heads. But this was good. And it all started, seek first to understand, then to be understood. And I'll close out my top 10 in a quick way. How to seek first to understand and then to be understood. Number 1, listen better. Number 2, if you're highly angry or emotional, take a step back. Number 3, what actually happened? Feelings aside. Number 4, where's your power? Number 5, is it their complete fault who you're dealing with? Number 6, was this person born this way, or did a life experience mess them up? Number 7, agree to disagree. Number 8, not everyone sees the world the way you do. It's okay. It's okay. Number 9, how much of who you are and what you do is based on past experiences and parenting? Other people didn't share those experiences. You know that, right? Number 10, grow up. Grow up. I've been drawing blanks on contributing. Really, Skinner? What, to this live stream? Oh man. Maybe that's part of your healing, Skinner. You're at a point now where you're feeling better. Your ex kind of came back, and that's a good thing, maybe. Yes, iced coffee with a combination of coconut milk and almond milk. I think it's called Bruce's coconut milk or something. It is, Skinner. You know what's funny, Skinner? Because you're one of those. I like your questions sometimes. You ask some funny questions, but the fact that you're listening the whole time, you're getting something out of it, I suppose. But like, There'll be people I do live coaching sessions with for a month or 2 months. Um, and and then they float back 2 months later, and then like they just disappear because they're better. And that actually is the point of what I do or how I'm helping people. It's not like I want you to, come to me for a week every every week for a year. That would be really good money. That's why therapy sometimes, is like that. But for me to be obsolete eventually is probably the goal. People will come back though, and they'll circle back like 6, 7 months later. Like, just want to let you know I'm doing really good right now, man. And me sending that story and was so fucking good. You gave me some really good advice, and that's enough. I'll add them to this description box. Thanks for reminding me. So sometimes this gets uploaded and I forget. So thank you for reminding me, Black Widow. NBA talk now. All right, I can do that. I was gonna take off, but I can do a quick NBA talk because Skinner's NBA too, right? I don't know if Brian's into it, but Black Widow, I'm not sure if you like the NBA, but I feel like ever since that conversation, I haven't thought about her much. That's good, man. Thank you. Yeah, Cousins. Wow. I don't know. I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna say that what's going on legally outside is true or not true. So that's who knows. But LA pivoted well. Dwight Howard's a good person to take a chance on. I'm shocked that Joakim Noah is not on the team because I just always thought he was a glue type guy. He's a hard worker. If he's healthy, because he's a guy, he doesn't depend on athleticism or anything. I would have took him maybe. Dwight Howard, if he's healthy, I mean, it's going to be outstanding for them. DeMarcus Cousins, honestly, he's one of those guys. He's always in a bad mood. He's always got a scowl on his face. Even when we signed him last year, his body language is bad. He's highly, highly talented, but he plays angry way too much. And regardless if he would have played this year, dude turned down, I think, was it 60 or 75 million, and now he's gotten 2 or 3 million a year the last couple of years. Wow. Just realized I'm the only female in here right now. No, you got one popped up right now, right when you said that. Do you think people who don't delete old pictures with their exes are people who have a hard time letting go, or is it not red flag if they otherwise seem over it? Just curious. Good question, LF. She was in here. There you go. Asking you shall receive, Black Widow. Do you think people who don't delete old pictures with their exes? I know it is crazy. Serendipity. Who do you think people who don't? I'm sorry. Let me just because there's stuff coming up here right now. Do you think people who don't delete old pictures with their exes are people who have a hard time letting go? Yeah, I mean, short answer, yes. I understand why they wouldn't delete pictures. Some people are more. Well, let's just break it down like this. What does a picture mean to you? How much time do you spend on pictures? Obviously, with social media, it's different. I find that framed pictures in my house mean more to me than sliding through a bunch of pictures. I think pictures have less meaning than they did 10, 15 years ago in a photo album. But, or is it just a red flag if they otherwise seem over it? I would say if, it could be two different things. LF. The reason I'm taking some time with this, I'm digesting. I'm trying to sort through this in my head. There's not one answer to that question because someone can keep the pictures up and just not care. They started hooking up with someone else. They don't really, I've always been someone with social media. I don't really garden my social media and take pictures up, take pictures down. So someone could be the type. I've heard of someone doing this before. Oh, they never took my picture down. And they contacted the guy and he's like, I've never taken any pictures down because I just don't touch them. So that's part of it. Some people don't think about the picture thing as much as you do. So it's just a value on that. Or is it not a red flag if they otherwise seem over it? If they immediately take all your pictures down, then that would be a sign that they're trying to move forward or they're angry or upset with you. But it doesn't necessarily mean both. I hope that answers your question. I do sometimes wonder if she'll reach out again just because how the conversation went made me curious about where her head is. I hope she has clarity and is doing well, though. Well, first and foremost, I hope you're doing well, Skinner, because you didn't seem to do anything wrong in this. I think my ex just got to the point where she can see my photos and not feel anything. No, she probably does. It's just, the other thing about photos, correct me if I'm wrong. If you guys are extremely active on IG or Instagram, someone just asked me yesterday, what's IG? I'm like, Instagram, Facebook, and you see 1,000 pictures a day or 100 pictures a day. Pictures are less important than you think to some people. It's beginning to step for some towards moving forward and not looking back. Afternoon, everyone. What's up, Dylan? Good point. Dylan is here. Kind of late, though, buddy. Yes, I'm late. I've been busy. Reminder of who you were with and maybe why you're no longer with them. That's true. That's true. All right, folks. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for joining. I will post that list in the comments. Matt A, if you're still on deck, I will be contacting you. If you booked a live coaching for the next couple of days, I'll probably talk to you. Brian, I do have a response to yours, to your story. They'll probably get back to you in the next 24 hours. Memories are more permanent. I deleted my ex's pic as soon as we broke up. That's my approach. Be smooth, Mac. I like that. I like smooth. Remember nice and smooth? Sometimes I rhyme slow, sometimes I rhyme quick. That's an old one. You're a bit young for that one. I had that on I had that on tape. I had that on cassette. Nice and smooth. Sometimes I rhyme slow, sometimes I rhyme quick. Yes, ma'am. Thanks, Skinner. I've gotten some stories. I'll get back to getting the stories up. My dedication right now is to the live streams, and energy is not infinite. So it's curtain, folks. Thanks for having you guys. Take it easy.